Father, bless this time. Let your will be done. Bless those who are watching by way of social media. Bless those who are sick and shut in. Bless those who are on their way. Bless those who will watch this as a result of being sent out through all the airwaves and through the internet, through Twitter and through Instagram. Bless this word, Lord, that I can say something that would represent you, that would bring harmony in our relationships. And Lord, that we would begin to work together and understand one another. God, let me say something this evening that would break the shackles, on our minds that have been in our families for generations. And let someone walk away or click off saying, hey, I'm a much better person. God, I thank you for the insight. I thank you that I had no idea with all the pain and suffering that Jill and I were going through, that you would use that one day to heal other people. I give you all the honor and the glory, and thank you for my life and breath in my body. In Jesus' name, amen. Talking about relationships, and the purpose of talking about relationships has been if we cannot get along, then we can't move forward and move along. Talking about relationships because if you don't know how to communicate in your relationships, you're bound to have problems. And many of us are having a lot of problems. So I'm going back to basics. And we really have to go back to basics, especially in this digital age, because in this digital age, it's just quickly send a click, it's send a text, send something, and we've lost touch. Say touch. We've been doing this stuff so fast, but we fail to understand that our minds have adapted in such a way not to connect with the human soul and just try to get words across through texts and messages and just characters. But we are much bigger than our characters. And so tonight I'm going to talk about how to love a black woman. I'm sorry, a woman, but again, it always says black woman because that's all I ever dealt with. You know, I didn't deal with strawberry or vanilla. Not that I never thought about it, but, you know, I'm just talking about what I know. And so I don't want to sound biased to someone who's listening right now and watching and saying, but this applies to me. Yeah, it does. But I think we all have different cultural challenges within our own ethnic groups. And I think being married or being in love with a woman is challenging to any species on the earth. And for a man, it's absolutely challenging, whether it's male or female. I mean, I'm sorry, whether black or white or whatever the ethnic race. A woman is a woman is a woman is a woman. Don't try to figure her out. Just do what she says do. At least that's what I've learned. And that's not a joke. That's for real. So I want to just lay a foundation for my brothers who are listening to understand that you have to what is the condition of the woman you are attempting to love? Does she have a father? Did she have a father? Did she have a figure in her life that helped her to become who she is? Or did she learn it by trial and error? If you are loving a fatherless woman or a woman whose father acted fatherless, then what you will find out is that she has an inner ache in her soul. And that inner ache is based upon how her father expressed or did not express love to her and his affections. And it is the father who teaches a woman about her femininity. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but it's the father who does more teaching about femininity in terms of how to value it than the mother does, because the mother can never feel the ache in that child's soul that doesn't have a father. So when she says, I didn't need my father, that's not true. And a lot of people who are single or grew up without a dad, you came to the conclusion that you didn't need them. Yes, just because you got along without them doesn't mean that you didn't need them. And so many of us didn't have the intellectual capacity to understand a father's rejection. And because we don't have the intellectual capacity to understand that, we could not insulate ourselves against it. So we grew up in such a way that without a father, there was something missing. I want daddy to like me. Daddy doesn't like the way I am. I will change the way I am so that daddy will like me. Well, many of us do that on a regular basis, but we don't know that that becomes a part of our unconscious mind, and then we are no longer conscious in a relationship. We're constantly trying to prove something. How do I know these things? Because I was married. I'm not married. Was married. I'm married in a relationship with a woman whose father was an alcoholic, whose mother had some challenges herself in many areas, and so she had to raise herself. And in her raising herself, I often thought, well, maybe she wasn't affected by not having a father. She told me all these stories in terms of how she had to take herself out of school and go to and register in another school while she was 11 or 12 years old, and the things that she had to do. And so with a woman not having a father, it lends to the way you all communicate, because she's missing a major piece. And if you didn't have a father, it's really doubly compounded in terms of the chaos that you will experience. And so I know some of these things because I said, God, I don't want to leave my relationships. I don't want to lose good relationships, and I don't want to leave my relationship with my wife. And it was to the point where we were at divorce on a couple of times, because living with her became unbearable. And as much as she would say that it was unbearable with me, as simple-minded as you may think that we are, we still feel. And we may not be able to express in words what's happening, but we still feel. And those feelings have a bearing on how we deal with love. So I had to figure out, how was I going to stay married to her, and how were we going to keep going forward, because I finally understood why men leave women. I got it. Because we can't, it's hard to keep up with it. And so I'm going to go through the things that I've observed over the years that help us to maintain the peace, and hopefully it'll help you maintain the peace. Maintain peace. You have to want to know her being, her heartbeat. What makes her tick, what makes her smile, what makes her excited, what makes her like you and make her love you. You have to get to the point to find out what turns her on. See, when we're courting them, or we're going after them, we don't take into account we take into account what turns them on, and we're very conscious of it. But then after the relationship gets older, we stop going after that. Our relationships fail because we don't understand our differences. Because she doesn't know a brother's sense of self, and his sense of self is based upon her trial and error of understanding who men were in her life, she fails to understand that if she doesn't validate his efforts and his attempts to try to show her love, he regresses. He suppresses, he becomes discouraged, and he will become black cynical, because it gets to a point, no matter anything I do, it still is not right. And now you're going to find out that her perfection has everything to do with her insecurities and not you. And her need to have a perfect relationship, she ends up sharing words that do more damage than anything else. If she knew the true nature of a man, she would realize you cannot move a man by complaints. The only way you can move him is down by complaints. And so if she hasn't been taught any relationship skills, we're building towards something, my friends. And what we're building towards is saying, listen, if you want, listen, I was going to say this for the end, but I'll say it to you now. The highest form of spiritual worship is how you conduct yourself in your relationships. If you want to know what your spirituality is, look at the condition of your relationships, and then you know your spirituality. If your relationships are out of whack, if your relationships, your communication is off, that's your responsibility. And it's also an indication. So you can tithe, you can give, you can do all kinds of things. But if you don't know how to show love, which it says in Corinthians, and then you are just a clanging cymbal. Because your highest form of spirituality is gauged in the condition of your relationships and how you respond. It says in Proverbs 14:1, a wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands, a foolish one tears hers down. And so some of us will build in for a relationship, and then with her own doing, she will tear it down. But then if she's not careful, she blames the person for tearing it down. He needs encouragement, like he needs air. So why is she so intense when it comes to relationships? What makes her so over the top sometimes when it comes to relationships, especially with you? Because as we've learning, she's going to define herself through her feelings and the quality of her relationships. And if the quality of her relationship is off, then she's going to be out of kilter, off kilter. She's going to be off course. And so when we talk about a man loving a woman, and it took me years to understand that she's a woman, she's not a dude. I think by the time you grow up, and especially in our community, sisters become so strong, especially verbally, that it's hard to have an intimate conversation with them without being stabbed. I mean, it happened to me at the airport on Sunday on my way to air. All this spiritual stuff happened. I think it was Monday morning or whatever. And I'm in conflict with the lady selling chips at the gate. And she got me. I got myself. I was tired, but I can't make an excuse. Oh, that was rough. I bought a Minute Maid drink. I said drink, yes. I bought a Minute Maid juice, and I came up to the counter, and instinctively, I just opened it, and going to take a sip. I just opened it, because I'm right there in line. I was going to take one of my blood pressure pills. And as soon as she heard the, she said, "Sir, follow the rules." I said, "It was a mistake, but you still need to follow the rules." I didn't even hear the Spirit. I didn't even hear the Spirit. I didn't even want to hear the Spirit. Anybody have a moment like that? I didn't even want to hear what the Holy Ghost had to say, because I was, by this time, I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I said, "Well, ma'am, it was a mistake." And she said, "Sir, you don't have to be loud." I said, "I'm not getting loud. I'm just saying that it was a mistake." I said, "Well, listen, what I'm trying to say." She says, "Sir, you don't have to be nasty about it." I knew she had a black angry problem, but I wouldn't shut up. So I kept saying, "I'm not going to drop the matter." Now I'm talking like this. Everybody, you know my voice. "I'm not going to drop the matter, so you might as well drop the matter. Sir, why are you doing it? I'm not being nasty." Now this time my hands are shaking. I'm saying, "Why am I letting this woman do this to me?" Then I walked over and sat down, and for 20 minutes I prayed. Because by that time I wanted to say some nasty stuff. Y'all don't go through this, but I'm gonna be real. I don't pass these tests all the time. And so I'm sitting there, but then like, "I really want something else to drink." I said, "No, you don't." And I'm rocking. I said, I just want to go tell her, "I know what your problem is. I'm teaching on you right now." But I said, "Deron, you fell in the test because you can't even overcome what this woman is saying. And what is it going to do if you do go back and say something to her? Sit here, be spiritual." Then I started laughing. I said, "She got me. She got me. I got myself, but she got me." You can't tangle with a woman's anger. You will never win. Hello? This is why they call it snap. You will never win. She will always take it to another degree. Hopefully I'm making sense to somebody who's listening to me. When a man loves a woman, he must love her hurt and her pain without hugging her fears. I learned this through Jill because I only wanted to love parts of her. And there were times where she had fears, and then I would try to help her and overcome her fears, but I realized fears is for her to deal with, not me. And I got to love all of her and her pain. And the whole purpose is to get to know her in her pain. See, we want to know her in her ups, but intimacy requires when you know people when they're down. And she must know that in her pain, you're still going to be there. So you can't, as a man, you can't do disappearing acts. You can't disappear emotionally, and you can't disappear spiritually or physically. When you love by her, you know that you've been loved, because when she loves you with both her hurt and her pain. This is why she feels so good. This is why it feels so good when you love her. Because when she loves you, she has this voice inside of her. And her motives for love starts from her hurt, not her heart. Did y'all hear that? Sometimes her motives for love starts from her hurt, not from her heart, because she hasn't handled the hurt that is in her heart. And so, excuse me. And so, if she's going to love, the first thing she has to do is learn to heal her pain. If not, her pain will continually whisper to her. We didn't get right until Jill took responsibility in our relationship to now work on herself. I laughed at her the other night, last night, because she said something about the propensity of something to happen. And it had to do with hormones and this and whatever. And it's about several big words. And I just laughed. And I said, you ain't talk like that when we met. Your vocabulary was nothing like that when we met. She said, I know. I said, so I repeated the whole thing back. I said, it is such a pleasure to know, the effect that you had on me and the effect that I had on you. And I realized, right then and there, I loved her in every part of her, and encouraged her, do what you got to do. I never, when she would start talking about some ignorant stuff, and let me explain ignorant. I first had to explain to her, ignorant doesn't mean negativity. It means you don't know something. And I said, if we're going to make it, you're going to have to read. If we're going to make it, you're going to have to read. And if you don't read, we're not going to make it. I said, I'm reading, but if you don't read, we're not going to make it. And I said, read to comprehend. Because I'm understanding everything about you and what my problem is, but you tell me, I get everything I get from the word. Stop your lying. Stop your lying. You need to read. But back then we first got married, I said, you're ignorant, man. And we get to fighting. I said, you ignorant, man. I wasn't trying to be that way, but I was saying, man, you don't know what you're talking about. I know more about your body than you know about your body. I need you to read anything. So to see where we've grown, we can see, I go back to it, I could do it later, but I can tell it to you now. If you're going to have a relationship, you got to be spiritual, and you got to see the condition that they're in and the condition that you're in, and you got to commit to help them get to where they need to get, because a marriage is about healing the hurts that haven't been healed. A relationship is about healing unhealed wounds. Am I making sense to you guys? So when her pain whispers to her, let me love him more, let me love him so much that he won't have any more pain to love me. Impossible. You can't love him better than his creator. But if you are a man and you get hung up on her act outs, and they can be vicious, you fail to see that when a woman gets mad, she operates like a man. At least that's the way it feels. But when you understand the purpose, she's the Eshet Hayel. And that is the virtuous one, the woman of strength and valor of mind and spirit, which allows her, when they said, who can find a virtuous woman? They're saying, who can find a woman of valor? Virtue had nothing to do with femininity. It had everything to do with strength and honor. And it says, who can find the Eshet Hayel? Who can find this person? Because she has the ability to stand in danger and stand in the way of danger and in this, when seasons of great changes are upon her. And so if you want to succeed in love, you have to have the same strength to love her as the strength you had to want her. You got to find it within yourself. You got to find that spark or whatever it is that caused you to be there, because it's up to you to keep that alive. It's not up to her to keep that alive. It's up to you to remind this ain't who she is. And even if she's going, listen, if she's having PMS, if she's going through the change of life, if she's going off, if she's uneasy right now, if she's going through, listen, you wanted that good stuff. That comes with a price, man. She's wonderfully made. And so now if she's going through all these changes, it's up to you to love her, to let her know I'm with you even through this phase. And that means she may just be off us for a sec. My wife understands there's some medications that I was on and it made me irritable. I didn't know that was the side effect. But she's able to be with me. And even if it wasn't medication, she understands this is what he's going through right now. So she don't take offense if I lose it. And when I say lose it, I'm off in what I'm saying to her. She said it last night. We on our way to the Safe Kids. And so I'm trying to get something out of my bag while I'm driving. She said, can you please just drive? Because it's really making me scared. I said, okay, cool. Then I went a block, and so I said, well, let me get my thing. And I went to do it again, and she said, Deron, I said, all right, I got it. Please finish your story. And she said, I said, listen, please finish your story. I used to say, why are you going, I was just talking to you. You got to get to the point where you got to stop acting like a woman with your woman. Stop having so many words to go back and forth with them. That's her forte. Let her speak what she needs to speak and keep going on and stop being. Let me just say this. It takes a man to love a woman. When I say man, I'm talking about when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. When I became a man, I had to transcend her emotions. When you learn to transcend her emotions, she gets to be. Listen, sometimes she needs to be off. She needs to not be on it. And so she gets to have that moment. And when you transcend her emotions, I had to talk to the Father in me, and have the Father in me talk to the Son in me. And have the son explain to the boy in me, look, stop taking everything so daggone personally. See, if you didn't have a father, then you got to call on the Father within you. He's there. You've got to call on the Son within you. And then you got to allow yourself to educate that little boy in you through the Father in you, because he's there. And you can't wait for a child to come for you to bring the Father out, because she needs the Father in you. But if you have faith and you understand that a relationship is being spiritual, then what you know how to do is touch heaven so that she can recognize the Father in you. The son says to the little boy, let me handle this. The father says to the son in me, let me teach you how to rise above it, transcend the drama. Yeah, let it feel what it feels, because the emotion will dissipate, and then you can get to the solution. Part of being a man or becoming a man and stop thinking like a child was to be able to allow my emotions not to go and cause my head to get hot while she was talking and be wanting to say something back. Boys defend themselves. Men hear what's happening and get to the solution. If any of you all have kids, when you have a child and they start, whatever age they are, and they start going overboard in their emotions, you don't match that energy. You say, be calm, it's going to be all right. We can get past this. We can get through this. Well, I had to train myself in my relationship when she was on 10. Just be calm. My hands would be shaking because I wanted to match energy, but I said, it's not working anymore. I'm tired of arguing all the time. I'm tired of her talking to her friends about me. And then when they see me, hey. I don't know about you, but that gets tiring, man. All that bickering back and forth, that's a lot of energy. I said, I give up. And I remember, I said, Jill, listen, it's unacceptable for us to keep acting like this. And then as you get older, you be acting in such a way, your heart start beating and you're out of breath and you're sweating and y'all ain't ever had no arguments like this. And so you're sweating and you're breathing and then you realize, Ninja, you better sit down. You're about to have a heart attack. Over a pork chop or something. You know, you're trying to figure this out. Listen, I'm just trying to help somebody today. That's all. You ain't got to go through what we went through. The Father in you always looks for a solution to the drama. So when you are the calm in the relationship, you can say to her like you would say to your child, and I'm not saying that your woman is a child, but I'm saying you know how to enter that space. And if you understand that she's a little emotional or whatever's happening, and you let her know, I got you. And even while you in this, I ain't going nowhere. She needs to be able to act like the wicked witch from the west or east or southeast or whatever it is. She needs to be able to act like that and know you ain't going nowhere. And you not going to pout. Man up and take it, man. Stop complaining. Living in her house, eating her food. Living off her credit. If she's making more money than you getting all upset. Handle your business if that's your situation. Man up, man. Stop complaining. Decide that I'm going to be a man once and for all. And I'm going to learn how to love. Because God is waiting on you to touch. You got a solution that's needed in your house? My solution, the solution to come into our house and into our relationship until I man the freak up. And said, I'm not giving in to these emotional tirades anymore from me. To transcend her, you got to transcend you first. And once you transcend your emotions, you're able to go to the next level. If the universe led her to you and you to her, then the universe is telling you you need to cooperate with it. Because if the universe brought y'all together and you say, you make me a better person, then when you argue with her, when you fight against her, you're going against God because you're going against the very instrument that was sent to bring you out of your darkness. Why? Because she is the bearer of light. And when she brings light into your world, light disperses darkness. That's why you were attracted in the beginning, because she made you a different person. But when you become too familiar with that light, you fail to see, or you begin to have contempt for that light. You fail to understand that her role is to be a chastiser of your life so that you can keep this family on point and you can be the point man. And so relationship requires you to practice being able to receive what it is that she's saying. Because if you can receive the truth and the truth stops hurting, then you can see that what she's doing is helping you heal what your father was not there to help you heal. And when I say if you have a relationship with God, when she begins to talk to you, listen, I had this brother, what's this girl? What's your son's? I can't even think of your son's name. Whoever wrote me a letter and told me, don't tell God. When you hurt, tell God. He had no idea that, and I just broke down and started crying because God had already told me. He said, don't criticize her anymore. Don't talk about her. Why? Because when you criticize her in any form, although you can see that she's wrong or she's off in this area, telling her that she's wrong hurts you. Am I making sense to anybody? Why? Because takan, which is Hebrew, means the correction of your soul. A woman is to be the corrector of your soul. That's why it feels like she's like a man, because she's helping make up the difference. Because ultimately, she ain't trying to control you. She's trying to come out on top. And so she's the protector of her family. So you got to get past having wifey faith. Wifey faith is wish-washy faith. Because wifey faith don't require anything of you. When you're single, the faith of a single man is terribly inadequate. Because he does not have to believe God past any trials than his own personal trials. But when you become a husband, a committed husband, a committed man in this relationship, you don't have the out of you're my wifey. Because as a husband, you now have to fight depression to lead your family. Talk to him, Deron. Because having a wife will push you down into the deepest and darkest levels of depression. Because she's reminding you of everything that ain't right. And you be like, my God, are we going to get anything together? Are we making any headway? Anything? Is anything happening good? Am I worth any value whatsoever? Are we really going to make it? I don't understand. I feel like I'm melting with the demands. Hey, man. Marriage is a man maker. It's a man maker. It's a woman maker too. And it's a widow maker. But I'm here to tell you, if you want the surprise that come with this, you'll stop criticizing. Criticism kills her vitality. So you ask them, what do I do? Because if I do this, it's just going to make her continue. I got so many more notes, I'm just going to have to chill. Change yourself. I determined, because I had dug myself in such a deep hole and in the doghouse for so long. I said, it got to a point I would tell her. When she brings something up, I said, you're 100% correct. In 30 days, you won't feel like that anymore. Now, it may take a little about 45, but in 30 to 40 days, you're not going to feel like that anymore. But I'm asking you, it may take 2 months or so, but I'm asking you to give me grace, because it may be about 90 days, but in 90 days, you ain't going to feel like this no more. But then I got it down to 30. I would say, just give me a little grace. But what I was telling her, I'm so committed to loving you and changing, I'm going to work on this. See, it's got to get to the point where your ego is no longer in the way. So I said, you won't be here. That's what I would say. You won't be here. Because she knew I was committed to keeping this thing going. But it wasn't that I was going to do it. I would say, I'm turning this over to God, and He's going to work this out. What she's waiting for you to do is kill the Mike Tyson in you. Once you beat the Mike Tyson in you, which is your own demons, I'd rather fight Mike Tyson than my own demons. Are y'all hearing me? Because your own demons with you all the time. I remember I met Mike Tyson, and he had been retired and was out of the game. And I had made some souvenir backstage badges. They just said souvenir, that's all. I got a little creative. I'm just going to tell the truth, all right? And I made my entire crew souvenir badges because we all went to a fight. And I said, if they don't stop us, we're just going to walk down on the floor and just go down there. It's a souvenir necklace to commemorate our men's outing together. I don't know if that still classifies as a lie or not, but I made those badges. And so we got the pictures to prove it. So we just, at one at a time, I said, let's just walk down there. So it was me, Ed, Rivian. I guess those were the elders of the church. I guess this is it. So we just all took our tans, and we was able to get down there. So we was taking pictures and all this kind of stuff. And we were all these different people. And then Mike Tyson was there. So I was the only one that was bold enough to go up to Mike. At least I thought I was bold enough to go up to Mike Tyson. Listen to me. When that brother got all that stuff on his face, and you standing next to him, you remember who he is, and I just don't need him to snap on me while I am taking this picture. So they told me when I took the picture, I was like this. Because I was scared to get next to him. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. But what am I telling you? That man scared me to death. I said, Lord, this man looks crazy. I'd rather fight him than fight my demons. Because my demons have held me down all my life. He can just knock me out. She's waiting on you to fight your demons. He's waiting on you, sister, to fight your demons. I didn't do all the work. I had to change, and I had to say, Jill, the way you're talking is unacceptable. And if we started this off, we got to change it because we can't talk like this no more. She's waiting on you to take the initiative. She don't want to figure everything out. This is how you love a woman. You give yourself up for her as Christ gave himself up for the church. You count yourself as equal heirs of the gospel. And you give yourself up with her, washing her with the water of the word, presenting her without a spot, nor wrinkle, nor blemish, just as Christ presented the church. And when you wash her with the water of the word, which means you live the word according to what you have to do, and let me tell you, the work ain't hard. You just got to want to love. All you all have watched me by way of video and you're watching here, hit me off with some hearts, whatever that means. I hope that God has blessed you. Here's what I'm here to tell you. We worked it out, but I had to fight. All my relationships, I fight for them. This wasn't just about marriage. This is about whatever you're going through. Fight for it. Stop listening to the voice of the devil. If you ain't gave, I used to tell men all the time, did you put forth your best effort? No. Then what you doing? A 3-week turnaround is not your 3-week change turnaround ain't your best effort. Your bad habit is like a drug. It's got to be broken. And you got to know that God is trying to break this stronghold in our communication here in this church. If you can't respect women because you don't respect your mother, it's going to cause problems. Now, sisters, you heard me talk a lot, but then you have to make yourself lovable too. And if you can't make yourself lovable, it's hard. I'm so glad that my wife softened that stance and made herself lovable and started talking to me like a man, not like she was upset with me. Harmony is possible. He said, if 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, if they ask of anything, I'll give it to them. Can 2 walk together lest they have agreed to do so? Agree that we're going to, in your families and in your relationships, that we're going to live in love. And once you make that agreement, everything else falls into place. I think the last thing I'd like to try to say is this. Jill, you ain't got to change one bit. If you don't never change, I'm still with you. And I'll learn to live with this. Because you done lived with my mess for God knows how long. God bless y'all. Well, let's get a Lord of praise. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let's get a Lord of praise. Come on. I believe God is doing something in our midst and the people who are listening. And I'm going to pray that God would take these blessings, that you would take these blessings to your homes. And that everybody watched this, that their life would be changed. Father, bless this word that was received today. Father, help us all to become just a little more compassionate. Help us to find that original spark of love that we've lost. Father, help us to work on practicing love as opposed to abandoning it. And Father, I got some people who are listening to me and they say, we love each other, but we've just been so at odds with each other. Father, let love prevail. Let them trust you and understand if they would just trust you first, you would open the doors. Now, Father, I ask that you would heal some broken hearts, that you would mend some broken hearts, and you would mend some broken relationships, Lord. I give you the honor and the glory, God, because I know that you are real. Now, bless those who are in ministry with us and those who are in partnership with us. Help them to take this message to hand, to heart, and that we would all become genuine. Repeat this after me. Lord, I surrender my foolish behavior, my habits, my criticisms. Help me to drop the matter and not argue. Help me to see you in my arguments. I choose to surrender to the truths that I've heard in this message. I give you all the honor by honoring you with the first fruits of my love. Let me finish. Father, bless them, keep them, and the same way you came into our house, God, and into our relationships. Let functionality be first and foremost, and let us be able to rebuke dysfunctionalism in every shape or form so that we can be closer to you. Now, Father, I pray for the offering that we're going to receive, that it would continue to further an advancement of your kingdom. Father, bless those who are going to give by way of push pay or online, that they would know that everything that they give keeps us pushing this message forward. And then, Father, let it take off on the social media and heal people. God, we thank you for the thousands and thousands of views that these messages are getting. We thank you, Lord, that even now there are hundreds of people that end up online. And I thank God for you people. May God continue to bless you. And may we get to see each other face to face one day. All those in agreement said amen. Amen. God bless you.